What's the flex? I'm probably smoking exotics in the hills out west. I've been inside the trenches where they throwing up sets. Put on a two-way flight to New York just for the net. Niggas been plotting and scheming on the kid, they upset.
Yeah, switch lanes, them things gon' keep moving. Yeah, wrist game and chain going stupid.
Yo, what's good, everybody? MarlinBeats back here with another Behind the Beat. Today we're gonna be going over how we made the beat for Candles by Zak Downtown featuring Safa Gaw. So just a little bit of like history on this track. We had Zak, Safa come down to our studio. Our other studio used to be in Brooklyn. We were working out of there. It was a normal night in Brooklyn. Safa come by, Zak come by. We knew we were just gonna go, listen to a bunch of beats, try and get some demos down, see what we can create. They pulled up, we chilled, talked a little bit, then we got into listening to some beats. And that night specifically, I believe we made like 4 or 5 songs with demos. And I think Candles was like the third one we did. Basically the process is, we'll just go through the beats. When they hear something that they like, we pull it up. At that time we were using FL Studio to record actually just the demos. We threw it in there. They got in the booth, they just started going, and they did their thing. And what we usually do is, on a night like that, when we create like 4 or 5 songs, demos, we'll take the night, we'll listen back to everything, and so we can decide on what we actually want to take, finish and get right, get it mixed and mastered, and we figure out which one we actually want to go ahead and use. And so for this one, I remember it was like 2 or 3 days after that original demo session, Zak hit me back with a rough mix, and it was what we did in the demo, but it was just obviously completely cleaned up. It sounded awesome. I think it was pretty much almost done, and at that point we knew, we're like, all right, this one is definitely gonna be one that we're gonna go with. Zak's on the hook, he's got a verse, Safa's got a verse, and the song, it was a very catchy song. So Zak had the idea to get a music video director, cool music video that they did for it. I'll drop the link in the description box so you guys can check that out. Super dope. But anyway, let's get into the tutorial. Here's the original session. Basically, with Zak too. Zak is a very, he could do a lot of different styles, a lot of different, types of music. This one, I didn't have him in mind. Like I said, it was one of those sessions. He just came through and we just played beats, and whatever they heard and they liked, they got into the booth and started it up. So I didn't necessarily make this beat for him in mind, but I will just go through kind of like what I was thinking in the process. So basically, I know we started off here, first of all, tempo 144. First of all, we started with just the main chords here. So this is just the main chord progression. I'll play it. So yeah, that's, it's a pretty basic chord progression. With music these days, like those simple chord progressions are just very catchy. I mean, not just these days and all of time, but simple chord progressions, nothing too crazy, those are what catches the artist's ear, and then you can kind of build things around it. So when I heard this chord progression, I was like, all right, it definitely needs some other stuff around it, but I can, it's a good progression where I can build and I can have something to go off of it. So what I did first was I put in this bass line here. With the bass line, of course I just followed the bass notes of the chord of the chord progression that I played earlier. A good thing to do if it's hard for you to hear the key, you can go, I think I talked about this in the other video, but you can go up an octave because you can hear the note better, and it's more, the higher pitch, you can like really match it up with what you want. So here I'll just show you this bass this is a 1-shot bass. It's like a just a dirty sub bass. And what I did here, I took the envelope. So a lot of them usually start out something like this, I think. And we could go over some of those things in other videos, but basically what that did was make it so I have full control over the sound. So as soon as I hit the key, it starts playing, and when I let go, it stops playing, so it doesn't bleed into, you know, the 808 or anything. So I just turn the attack all the way down, hold all the way up, and these down all the way. And then so when I click the note, as soon as I let go, it'll stop playing. So listening to the chord progression, this is the notes, the bass notes that I drew in. And I'm almost positive that I drew it in a higher octave, and then I just went down two. I just kept it simple. I added in, I think in this beat, yeah, I have 2 counter melodies. So this is the first one I did. I picked this bell sound. That's not a bell, actually. It's like a synth kind of pad string. That's what it is, actually. It's a string. And with this, you can see I messed with this a little bit because it was originally like that. And then when you hit the note, it just goes way too long. So I pulled this down. And then this is the melody that I drew in. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to solo this for you first. And as you could see, some of the notes weren't hitting because I had halftime on it. So halftime is a cool plugin because it basically will like stretch out the melody that you created and just give it like a really cool, you know, like darker sound almost. So this is what it was without the halftime. And so for that, I'm gonna play it with the main melody. And for me, like the notes that were hitting were good, but it was a little too just like unorganized, and it was just a little messy. So with this halftime, you know, it kind of just brought it all together, just slowed it down, and just made it sound better in my opinion. And then with the bass, it just made it even better. And then started with the drums. Started with a hi-hat first, which I usually do. And the pattern goes like this. Pretty simple. Again, just basically on every beat, and then I just put in the rolls where I heard the rolls hit. And it's, you know, it's pretty, again, basic. It's you know, kind of repetitive, but it's just enough where Zak and Safa could just, you know, it's not too much where they can't get their words out, you know. And then the sound that I picked for that was this hi-hat. I turned the out knob up. Didn't really do too much because it was short anyway, but I usually just always get in the habit of just turning this up. And then here you can see with this roll, I put the velocity down a little bit just to give it a little bit of bounce. Also here I had this open hi-hat. This is the most basic open hat that they have, and I turned this over because it was a little bit late. So this is the start knob, and as you can see, it brings it to, because there's dead silence right here, so when I hit it, it comes in a tiny bit late. So I just moved that up, and then as soon as I hit it, it'll hit, and the pattern just goes like this, something simple. And I put 2 here. And then we moved on to the clap. I think it was a basic clap. Just on every single beat. And that clap is, again, very basic clap. It's almost in all drum kits. It's a good sound. It's a quality sound. We did was we went to the snare. I used just another another basic trap snare, and I layered it with the clap as well as in between. So to the 808, I used the Spins 808 here, and again I followed just the bass notes of the melody. This is the spin. I didn't do anything to it. One thing over here with this the tool knob up here, what you want to do with the 808s is you want to hit cut itself, because when you drag in the 808 originally, it'll sound like this. So when you play a note that comes after another one, they bleed into each other because they're the low end. So right there you could hear the ending of this note bleeds into this note, and it just causes like a weird sound. So you want to make sure you hit cut itself, so as soon as the next 808 hits, it knows to stop the one before. And then did a roll here. Again, it was very basic 808 pattern. And then I did just a roll here, and that was the brush tool, magnet, 1/3 step. Then if it's not fitting the grid, you hit Shift D, and then it brings it right in. Just click it like that, and then that's how I did that roll. And then over here you see something crazy. It's kind of crazy, but this basically is almost like a reverse 808. I'll let you hear it. So what I did was, I put in a note, and I wanted these to all be chopped up so it sounds like that reverse effect. So when I was making the beat, I probably had it just a simple hit like that, and what I did was I extended it. And then this is a cool tip. You do option, when the note is clicked, you do not option U, and it brings up this chopper where you could pick how chopped up you want it to be. So what I did was I just did the most, as you can see, and then I hit accept, and then I did the velocity, because if I had all the velocities up like this, how the regular, all the other 808s are hitting, sounds like this. It's not a bad sound, but I want it to be like coming into the next part of the beat. So I just brought the velocity and I brought it down, so it sounds like it's being reversed. So that's the 808. Again, very simple. Then I went to the kick, and I'll play everything here. So this is what we had so far. So we had the main chords just going, and then I'll play it from here. So. And I also, obviously, I have my tag here, and I had this little riser. Just to emphasize that the beat is about to drop. And then I'm always going to be usually always adding kicks. And with the kick here, the kick pattern, I use the rack kick again. Doesn't say, yeah, all rack kicks, yeah. It's just quality sound. I had the velocity all the way up, so it hits hard, and as well as the volume almost all the way up at 89%. So this is the kick. And I'll play that with just 808. They're not hitting on, they're not hitting together every time, but sometimes that's good because it'll add some extra groove. So like there was no 808 on this one. And that 808 thing that I did here, it almost acts as like a riser as well, kind of like this that we have in the beginning. It's like raising up, same thing with the 808. It's quicker, but it just kind of emphasizes that the beat's coming back around, something new is going to come in. And speaking of something new, I had another counter melody here, because I didn't want it to be the same as the original one, and that's obviously your choice. But again, for this one specific, I just thought it was a little too repetitive, so I wanted a different kind of melody to come in. And for this one, I think it's another string. Yeah, another string here. And again, as you can see, I turned all of this down, so it hits as soon as I let go of the note, it's gonna stop. And this is a one shot, just from some random one shot kit. And also here, start offset, I moved it forward again because I felt like it was coming in a little late, so I wanted it to hit right away. And then I believe I don't have any effects on here. Yeah, no effects, so there's no halftime on this one, but this is how that sounds. It's kind of like a flute almost, but it's a string, but it's like a kind of a flute sound to it, and that is in the hook. So, it's different again from this melody. And then this. Those are basically all the elements to the beat. And then, so the way I arranged it, again, like I've been saying, this is the hook here. So, just the chords, the kicks, 808, all the drums are basically playing, except for the bass and the counter melody. So it goes from, the first part of the hook. To the second part of the hook here with the counter melody. And one thing too I wanted to just mention, I don't think I went over it. In this counter melody, I have like a glide here from this note. Like if I took that out, it's very subtle. You can barely really hear it, but it just gives it, again, it just kind of gives it bounce. And the way to do this is, you know, you have the note, the original note, and then whatever note you want it to slide up to or down to, you will click where you want it. And in this case, I had it here. And then you double click on the note, and this button here, that's, see how it says slide to G sharp. So that is telling the note that gets hit to now slide to the note that I have on here. So it's a cool little just like glide. And then like if you want, you know, you could move things over. Maybe that would have been better in the beat, I don't know. But see, it's like threw it off. But yeah, so that's how I did that with the glides. Where'd it go? With the counter melodies, I'm just kind of going off of my ear. Like I didn't hear, you know, I would let it play, and then in my head I was like down, down, down. So that's like I tried to find those notes. I mean, I could even probably make more of a melody, but this is how it was, and I thought this was enough, and I think it's perfect. So after the second part of the hook here, I stopped the 808, and then I went into like it's kind of sounds like a bridge part, but this is where Safa comes in. He does like some harmony here, so it just is so catchy going from the hook right into Safa singing with the bass line, because the bass line just emphasizes like the melody and the harmony. So I'll let you hear that. And the counter melody from the beginning of the intro, I brought that here into right where the verse starts. So he was singing on that. He had like a cool harmony, and then drops right into, and he started spitting some bars. Took out the hi-hats here for just a little breakdown part. At that point, you know, he was going crazy. Brought this part back again from the beginning of the verse here, so he did a little more harmony. Bring it right back into the hook, and that is basically how the song is laid out. So it was like this. It was Zak on the hook, Safa on the verse, Zak on the hook, and then Zak on the verse. And then we went back to the hook. And then I think he did like right after this he did something with it. But yeah, that's basically what the beat was made up of. Now I'm gonna go through a little bit. I'll show you guys what was on the master channel. So the first thing was this EQ. I had it on the other, at this point, I guess, in particular of making beats, I was using these presets because it's the same as the No Regards one. But I find that I don't use this too much unless I'm doing like a drill beat usually. But this low end thing and the high end thing, it's just cutting out the very, very highs and the very, very lows that you can't really hear, but you can almost feel it. So without that on, Not too much of a difference. You could hear it in the kick and the 808 though, because it's the low end. And then, so that was just what I had on that. Then I had this here. Oh, so if you could hear, there's like a weird sound going on. If I turn this off, I think it's from the melody. It was just all together on the master. There was like this weird hissing sound, and you could hear it when I take it up. It's like a whistle from the chord, the chords, the sound, whatever that is. So it just wasn't fitting right. So I just took out this EQ and I just took out that frequency. So that was that, and then of course I had the soft clipper on here, just the normal settings. Without it, this is what it sounds like. It's like kind of like you could hear the limiter going. It's like ducking where things are supposed to be clipping. But I had the soft clipper on it, and then this limiter. Again, I usually don't do this. For whatever reason, I put this on. Let's hear the difference. It's just giving it a little more. It just sounds a little bit more put together. But that's the master channel. Let's see what I did. See what I did with the chords. I keep muting the mic. But the chords here. I guess it looks like I was messing around with halftime. Could have been a cool intro or something, but I said nah. So what I do have on it is this EQ. Again, the chords, the sound that the chords were played with was a little harsh in certain spots. So like it's kind of like the keys are hitting in these certain spots, but it was just messing with the 808 and some of the other instruments, so I had to take it out. You still hear it a very little bit, but it was, I took out enough where it wasn't interfering with the rest of the elements of the beat. And then this synth here, like I said, I put the halftime on it. Yeah. So halftime, super massive. This is actually isn't even on this computer, so it's not loaded in. I think it just gave it a little bit of like a delay sound, but I had this EQ to take out the high. Without it, it was just, it was just too piercing, so I pulled it back so that it could fit with the other elements. And then reverb, added this reverb. Without the reverb, it's just pretty dry. And then with the reverb, you could hear it. It's just more ambient, more spacey. And then this sound goodizer, I think I'd put it on just to get some volume because it was low. And this made it a little bit louder. Just enough. Yeah, I had it on A and it was pretty much all the way up. I don't use that plugin too much, just usually when I want to get like some more volume out of something. And then what's playing here? The bass, probably no effects on here. Nope, no effects. Hi-hats, let's play those. No effects, no EQ, no nothing. Same with the snares and the claps, nothing. 808. So you can see the 808, how this is automatically, the volume is automatically coming down. So what I did there was with the kick, there's this preset. Well, first off, I wanted the kick to punch a little bit more, so I put on these two EQs. This is taking out some of the high end, and then that very, very low end that sometimes just clashes with the other elements. Again, you can't really hear it, but you can kind of feel it. So without it, it's very, very subtle, but when you're like on speakers or in headphones, you can kind of hear it. And then this, I boosted the kick here. This is where like the kick, the punch really comes in. So I took a band and I pushed this up a little bit to get it to cut through more without it. And as you could hear, like that's like the punch. So if you take it out, so I just boosted it a little bit there. And then also here I boosted the low end a little bit too. And then this last plugin here is called a Fruity P controller. It's kind of like side chaining. I forget where I came across this tip, but basically what it's doing is you put this on the kick track, and then you go over to the 808 and you right click on the knob here and you hit link to controller. And what that does is going to link it to this controller that we put on the kick channel. And then you click internal controller right here and you go into peak. And when you hit accept, now what it does is when the kick hits, it's going to duck the volume of the 808 just slightly. And you can control it, which is good, because over here on the kick, you can see these are the controls here. So this is the volume. As you see, that's moving. This is controlling the volume of it. This is now controlling the volume of how low it's going to go when the kick hits. And this is like the tension and how it's going to like snap back, or if it's going to take slow. So I'll show you some examples. So like if I put it down, it's too much for this beat specifically. It's like it's almost like it's like good for EDM. It like ducks the kick and the 808. The reason I do it is because like I've been saying, the kick and the 808, they clash together sometimes. So sometimes I want the kick to hit and I want the 808 to come in like a millisecond after, just so the kick comes in and then you feel the rest of the bass, and there's no like hiccups or there's no like clashing. So like that's too low. You can hear it just ducking. I don't want it like that, so I turn this up just a little bit. And with it off. And I don't do it with all the beats either, but whenever I'm making something and I hear like, all right, the kick is not hitting right, I'll throw this on to make sure that it's punching through. So that's that. And then this string, no effects. Again, it was like this flute one. It was pretty dry, but it fits good. Fit in perfect here. Probably could have put some reverb on it, but again, it was good how it was. No effects on that, and open hi-hats, and that's basically the beat. I will play it from the beginning again up until like a little bit here just so you guys can hear it. Again, chords, main chords, the bass line, 2 counter melodies playing at different times. Got the hi-hat, clap, snares, 808, kick, and open hat we had as well. Riser, tag, and that's, it's pretty simple there. So I'll let this beat go and let it play so you guys could hear it full. basically the entire beat. Safa and Zak, they killed the vocal part of it. You know, the song is super dope. Like I said, the music video, I'll put the link in the description. Make sure you guys check that out. We also had Zak and Safa, they performed it at a club, Tao Downtown in New York City. It was a super dope vibe, super fun. They killed the performance. It was dope. So definitely go check that out. Music video, the song out now, streaming, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, anything. Go check that out. And again, if there's anything specific you guys want us to go over, because we're going to continue to be doing these, whether it be tutorials or just like these, you know, behind the beat. So let us know in the comments if you like this video, if you want to know certain things on FL Studio, how to make certain types of beats, any just tips and tricks that I went over that you saw me do that I didn't explain, let me know in the comments, and you know, I'll try and make videos for all those things. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And we'll be back with another video. Make sure you guys like it, subscribe, again, like I said, comment, and share with your friends. And yep, that's it.
I might just lose it, yeah. One night I need you, let's do it, yeah. Tonight we gon' fuck to my music, yeah.